Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications. And once you're done, leave a comment down below and I just might end up responding. Professional wrestling has forever been linked to enhancement drugs like steroids or pain relief drugs like pills for probably obvious reasons, and so the WWE has done loads trying to wipe away reasons for that automatic association to just snap in your head. You've got the wellness policy, and you know what? In reality, that's about it. And it's kind of shitty, to be honest. 3 strike and you're out systems don't really mean much, especially when the top stars like Randy Orton realistically have like 17.5 strikes. Huh. No wonder drugs ruin so many wrestling lives. Let's talk about it. I'm D Wicket, and here's 10 wrestlers who were either fired from the WWE or just completely had their livelihoods destroyed by substance abuse. Number 10, Scott Hall, the unfortunate poster boy of what happens when wrestling goes wrong. Scott Hall found himself in more than an awkward position throughout the late 90s when his issues with drugs and alcohol went public.
What did you think, speaking of WCW and towards the end, when they started using your substance abuse as like a storyline?
Now, I was struggling behind the scenes with it.
WCW, where Hall was working alongside Nash and Hogan and his other NWO buddies, thought it'd be a good idea to showcase Hall's very problems in a very controversial storyline, and at the same time he was being arrested for keying cars, groping women, and all that not so jazzy jazz in real life. In fact, WCW itself never even got rid of him for the issues. Instead, Hall was edged out more so due to an on and off relationship between himself and the niece of TNT's owner, which is so fucking bizarre that I'm including it on this list and pretending that he got fired for substance abuse. Look, it's Scott Hall, alright? No one would even notice if I didn't say it.
Later I go, hey Sean, your heart still beating? Wait a minute. Yeah, here, take half of this.
Number 9, Mr. Perfect. Well, it's halfway true, okay? His cocaine and drinking problems were definitely part of why WWE let him go in 2002, and at least one of those contributed to the main reason he was fired, so I'm gonna count it. The plane ride from hell. Wow, this shit is bizarre. So back in 2002, a drunken plane ride involving names like Vince McMahon, William Regal, Dustin Rhodes, Brock Lesnar, and Kurt Hennig, aka Mr. Perfect, while everyone was being kinda shitty, Hennig and Lesnar were wrestling their way almost through the entire airplane doors and getting everyone killed. No, like seriously, Hennig shoved Lesnar so hard into one of the side doors that the fucking plane almost opened mid-air. You ever seen Final Destination? Yeah, you don't survive that shit. He was eventually released and exited a company for the second time due to drugs a year later when he passed away. Cocaine overdose.
Let's get one thing straight. Special referee WrestleMania 10. I have nothing against Lex Luger.
Number 8, Xpoc.
Unfortunately, there was a few years there, more than a few years, where I was stuck on the meth for a while.
Really?
Ooh, it was brutal, man. That's the worst shit in the world.
A lot of people get curious whenever I mention the Madison Square Garden curtain call incident because infamously, the entire clique came out to celebrate in the middle of the ring, except for Sean Waltman. He's always been a part of the group. He's very, very close with all 4 of the members behind the scenes, yet for their big kayfabe-shattering in-ring send-off, the legendary moment, Xpoc wasn't even there. Well, why is that? He was a little bit busy that night, stuck in a drug rehab facility, a definite part in why the 1-2-3 Kid had to dip out on WWF back in 1996. Sure, he was probably joining his outsider buddies in WCW regardless, but still, it contributed.
Crack, it goes up and down real quick, and you need a fix again.
Oh.
And the meth lasts a long time.
How long does meth last?
Fucking, man, it can last for a couple of days.
Number 7, Joey Mercury. One half of the greatest tag team comprising of a pair of Jays, I guess besides the Usos, right? Because Jimmy and Jay. Joey Mercury. Let's talk about the less memorable half of Eminem, shall we? He's come out publicly about his addiction issues, stating that ever since he started wrestling right around the age of 15, he's been mixing crack and heroin and shit with alcohol, and this man is mixing, folks. He got caught with a wellness policy strike back in 2006 and missed 6 months of work before shattering his nose at that year's Armageddon and ending with an addiction to painkillers. After a direct intervention with McMahon himself, Vince let Joey go to handle his addiction problems, which, fair play, he credits as a turning point in his life.
Taking the matchup for his team right there. Double noggin knocker. Jeff! Oh my! Wow!
Number 6, Davey Boy Smith. It's pretty hard to talk about drugs in pro wrestling and not hear this name pop up. Davey Boy Smith, more infamously known as the British Bulldog, he's up there in terms of beloved fan favorites from yesteryear, but he's also up there in terms of people seriously messed up by the life addiction leads. He dealt with drugs through it all. By January 2000 was notable since that's when his wife divorced him, and also when Vince McMahon himself put Davey into drug rehab.
I did have a drug problem. I couldn't get off the morphine. So I checked into a rehab in Grand Prairie. I stayed for 7 weeks.
Vinny really tried to get through to the Bulldog, and again, credit to Vince. He does try, but when things just don't pan out positive, you gotta cut him loose.
Since I was 15 years old, Alex Wright, you think you can beat the British Bulldog? You're wrong. You want
Number 5, Test. Here's one you might not know much about, since Test, I mean, it's Test. I'd say it's fairly common knowledge that he passed away in 2009 from ODing, but did you know he almost lost out on his initial tryout because he showed up under the influence? According to McMahon himself, he noticed his eyes drooping and the shakiness in his knees, and he just straight up asked Test when he pulled him aside if he was sober. Test said no, and McMahon was so interested in this giant mass of man meat who admitted to being drunk that he basically told him to come back next week for a second shot. That's just... it's so Vince McMahon. It's so you.
My God,
Number 4, Umaga.
Umaga? What is this?
Another wrestler probably more known for his deadly drug overdose than anything else, Fatu, or Umaga if you're booking racist gimmicks, was released from his WWE contract in June 2003 for his involvement in a bar fight where our big Samoan bulldozing buddy was more than a little out of it. With a string of drugs I don't know how to pronounce in his system, it was clear that not only he had a drug issue, but he didn't know how to contain himself publicly with that drug issue, and he had to be let go for a while.
He's a man already. He's a huge man. Oh, no.
Number 3, Mr. Kennedy. Alright, look, not really, but hear me out. Everyone knows that Mr. Kennedy was kicked out of WWE almost single-handedly by Randy Orton, but the fact of the matter is that Vince was low-key kinda sour on his ass for up to 2 years at that point. In fact, ever since Mr. Kennedy received a wellness violation and ended up ruining McMahon's biggest storyline of 2007, where Mr. Kennedy was going to be the bastard son of Vince who took over the company. Yeah, there's a fair reason that Vince was a little bit sour on him backstage. I mean, come on, guys, think about it. Do you really think Orton had enough pull to get a dude fired if corporate were behind him? Number 2, Kurt Angle. 2006 Kurt Angle is fucking scary, man. We got another case that's just... it's not exact, but may as well be. Alright, Angle found himself caught in a nasty cycle throughout the mid-2000s as he'd get injured, painkiller it away, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, cycle forever.
So I had to take 2. And then 2 ran into 4, 4 ran to 8. I was taking 65 extra strength Vicodin in a day. That could kill a horse.
It was a nasty look, and when Angle told WWE he couldn't continue wrestling that hurt without taking time off to try fixing things, he was given an early release from his contract. I guess he wasn't kicked out for substance abuse, fine. It was more so a mutual agreement that stemmed from it, but still, look, I have to include him because just go watch TNA Kurt Angle. He looks like a skeleton.
He's daring Angle to cross the line. Look at that. Look at Kurt Angle's face. Look at the eyes.
And number 1, Jeffrey Hardy, the drug boy. He is the drug boy. Rob Van Dam is the weed boy, but Jeff is the drug boy. April 22nd, 2003 would see the first of multiple WWE releases of Jeff Hardy, and while technically only this one was due to drugs, we're talking Jeff Hardy here, guys. They were probably all a bit due to drugs. The reasons cited for his release included erratic behavior, tardiness or absence from matches, his drug usage, there it is, and his refusal to enter rehab, cherry on top. Jeff also cited burnout, but look, man, that may be true. You may have been burnt out, but that's not why you got released. It wasn't a mutual thing. I love you, Jeff, but my guy, you're scaring me with the drugs.
The charismatic enigma,
And those are 10 wrestlers who are fired for substance abuse. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments down below after liking the video, subscribing to the channel, notifications, and that bell.